Yep, it's the OnePlus Nord2, and OnePlus just announced this phone. So let's find out what's inside of this and of course talk about the OnePlus Nord2 and my first impressions. And no, for the meme itself, I haven't been using it for 2 weeks, so this isn't a full review. That will come of course later. Okay, so let's first start of course with the unboxing of the device itself. Now as you can see, this is a media kit version. This means that I get the phone, but also 3 cases with it. Now this is of course a black one. Honestly, that one is my favorite. It has a really rough texture. We have this sand beach kind of thing. And of course this one, which is a lot of stuff going on the background. Not sure what it is. Then of course we get the box. This is of course the OnePlus Nord2. This is the box that you will receive at the end. Now when we open it up, you will find the phone of course that is laying on top. Nothing new here. So let's just quickly grab that out and talk about the device design itself. Because honestly here I think they done really well. This is much cleaner and it looks similar to of course the OnePlus 9 and of course the OnePlus 9 Pro. But I think in terms of design they done a much better job than the OnePlus Nord. That one felt like it was just very plain, where this one just feels a little bit more high-end, if that makes sense. Either way, I kind of dig the design for this one and I think it fits well for the price range as well. So of course, as you can see, I got the blue version, but there are some other versions available as well, like grey, but also a green one. Now of course, below this paper you will find that you have a case inside that as well, which is of course a clear view case. Quite handy to have that with of course a phone. Really would advise other companies to do the same thing. Then of course you have your regular red cable. Actually, honestly, they do that really well. It is quite nice and they pack it up really nice as well. I like this. This looks clean. And of course you do get your charger. This is of course a 65 watt charger. Really nice to have that. So this is the OnePlus Nord2 5G. In terms of specifications, let's quickly run over them. It comes with a 6.43 inch Fluid AMOLED display with a 90Hz refresh rate. It's a 20:9 ratio. In terms of CPU, it comes with a MediaTek Dimensity 1200 AI. It comes with 6GB of RAM as a base version, up to 12GB of RAM. In terms of storage, you either get 128GB and of course 256GB. It's UFS 3.1. In terms of battery, it's a 4500 mAh battery and it comes with warp charge 65 watts. The main camera is actually quite interesting. This is the same 50 megapixel you will find on the OnePlus 9. However, now it's not an ultra wide, it's just a regular wide. So that's actually quite interesting. In terms of ultra wide, you do have that of course. It's an 8 megapixel sensor with a 2.25 aperture. And of course you have your mono lens, which is a 2 megapixel with a 2.5 aperture. You do have the capability to zoom in 10 times. It's decent, but nothing really impressive, honestly. It's done that via AI stuff and you will see that it sharpens quite a lot. In terms of video capabilities, it's 4K up to 30 frames per second. Slow motion can be recorded at 1080p and 120 frames per second, but also 720p at 240 frames per second. For the front-facing camera, it's a 32 megapixel sensor with a 2.45 aperture, and of course, you will see that it is a color like we know. Now, we'll have to say, of course, this phone is missing 2 important features for me. It's the microSD and of course, the 3.5mm headphone jack. Sadly, this phone doesn't have it. If you don't really care for it, it really isn't a bother, but just know that this doesn't have the 3.5mm headphone jack or a microSD slot. So what is my experience so far? Now this is of course a limited time that I've used it with. So I'm gonna give you an experience based on a few days and I'm not gonna give you a full review about the device. There are some things that I noticed. The camera is actually quite capable. In terms of camera performance, I like it how they are going for a more natural approach. The zoom itself is decent, but honestly nothing to write home about. So honestly, I wouldn't use it that much. Sometimes it's okay. If you do it ×2 or sometimes ×5, it can do decently well, but honestly nothing really impressive here. The ultra wide again is decent here, but in video recording you can tell it's a little bit darker of course. In In terms of the main camera, video recording actually does it pretty well. Of course there's a lot of noise, but that is mainly because I'm driving 25, maybe a little bit more kilometers per hour on this electric step kind of thing. It's actually quite fun, and if you haven't done something like this, I would definitely recommend, especially if you go on a mountain bike trail. It's actually quite good fun.
Je moet niet al te stevig zijn.
And then of course, just the regular experience, I find it that OnePlus does pretty well when it comes to the software. I know there's a lot of talk about how they started and of course how they are doing it now, but for myself, the software experience is pretty clean. I really don't have any issues or anything to say here. I think there are some smart features, like of course when you are charging your device in the night, it will tell you, okay, we're gonna slowly charge your device, and in 6 in the morning it will be charged properly. This is better to save your battery life and make the battery last longer. I'm all down for that. Not to mention that you can also, if it recognizes of course that it's quite late, have it muted automatically. That's quite handy, but I haven't set it up myself. In terms of availability, of course the base version is the 8GB RAM and 128GB of internal memory. That comes in Blue Haze and Grey Sierra. Honestly, I would advise the Grey Sierra because it has that rather matte kind of texture on the back, and it's available for $399 at the 28th of July. And of course you have a 12GB version with 256GB of internal memory, again in Blue Haze and Grey Sierra for €499. And I know you saw a green version, but honestly there isn't much known about the availability for that one. And of course there is a pre-order sale on OnePlus.com. You get 10% discount on your case or a protective screen and 50% off on the OnePlus Bot set. Anyway, this was my first overview and first impression of the OnePlus Nord2 5G. I haven't used it long enough to give you a proper review. It would be dishonest to tell you how the device is with the data I've used it. So stay tuned for the full review, where I can properly tell you about the experience of the phone and of course how I feel about the device overall. If you are interested in that, of course, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like, of course, because it does help out the video, and comment below. Either way, have a good one and talk to you guys in the next.